Okay, right on the dot. It is 4 o'clock here in the United Arab Emirates, Dubai, and my name is Fawzi, and I would like to say good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our session. Welcome to our webinar today. It is lovely to see all these, I'm not going to say faces, but names that are joining us from various parts of the Middle East and the GCC. I'm not sure if there's anyone else that is outside of this area, but I would like to welcome you all and say hello. It is a pleasure to be here with you today to talk about this very interesting topic, very simple, yet very productive and efficient when it comes to managing operations in various industries. And that's why I wanted to share with you some of the practices and the experience that we have been implementing using what we refer to as lean thinking. I will introduce myself very quickly or very shortly, but before we get started, just I want to highlight to everyone that this webinar is recorded and will be shared on Meirc website and the YouTube channel, so you can come back at any time and watch it as many times as you wish. It's a short webinar. We're talking about 30-40 minutes. Maybe then we'll take some Q&A and then answer all your inquiries as it comes to the end of the session. As I said, a short webinar, 30-40 minutes. We'll be talking about the following topics. First of all, I need to explain why I'm running such a webinar talking about something called the 5S and visual management. So a little bit highlighting the importance of the discussion and why is this important to our organizations and to industries in general. Then we'll talk about one of the main tools that is basically the title of our webinar, which is called the 5 S's, which basically comes from the 5 original Japanese words. And we will talk about the methodology of using 5S. We will talk about the elements, presenting an implementation plan that maybe you can take to your organization and try to start a 5S implementation project. And then we'll move to the visual management fundamentals. Visual management fundamentals is key in lean thinking and management. And we will see how hospitals, how we will see manufacturing have used such tools, and which is basically can be used in any industry, even at your house. Many people use visual management as well. Takeaways, and then moving to the Q&A session. Just a little bit brief on Meirc Training and Consulting, the company I represent. Meirc Training and Consulting, we're actually celebrating our 65th birthday this year. So we're very proud of the partnership and relationship that we have with everyone in the region, industries, participants, consulting clients as well. And as you can see, we were founded in Beirut in 1958, moved offices to Dubai and Athens. Later on, Dubai became the head office. We have various offices in the region, Jeddah, Abu Dhabi, and Riyadh. And we will be, of course, celebrating, I think, the 65th birthday soon this year. And you'll hear all about it in the social media. In terms of our offering, we have 2 types of offering. We have public courses where people come to attend our courses. We have over 300 topics in 26 categories. And of course, we have in-house courses where we fly and deliver courses in different fields. In addition to the training, we have the consulting arm that can deliver in areas of HR, strategy, and maybe organizational development. As I said, we're very proud of the relationship that we have in the region. We're expanding our operations. We're flying to Europe. We're flying to the US as well to deliver courses as well. So we're very proud of the reputation that we have built over the years. And it is a pleasure to be here with you today to share that experience and the practices that we've been doing in some of the areas. As I mentioned, 26 categories. So whether you want to improve on your project management or leadership or quality, or learn about Six Sigma or Lean, we've got the courses. All you have to do is check our website and check the level and check Some of our courses are actually accredited or certified, meaning that it's either leading to the PMP, or maybe it's leading to the Six Sigma Green or Black certification, or it's leading to the ILM. So we've got various programs and accreditation that require you maybe to sit for an exam or do a project. All details will be highlighted in our website once you go to the relevant program. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Fawzi, and I'm an engineer by practitioner or training. And civil engineering was my first degree in civil in bachelor's degree. Later on, I got obsessed, I would say, into in quality, and I finished my master's degree in industrial engineering and moved to practice the elements and the fundamentals of quality, working with a number of companies, including KPMG in Ottawa, Canada, BSI as well, British Standard Institution in Canada and the Middle East, moving to Meirc in 2004, became a partner in 2007, responsible for the operational excellence and offerings in quality and strategy. I also worked with a number of organizations, including IBM as their quality manager, and Talal Abu Ghazala as a consultant as well. So again, my areas of specialties are operational excellence, quality, strategy, leadership training. These are the areas that I've been practicing and delivering training, consulting, and working as a practitioner before joining the consulting and training arm. My PhD is in operational research, focusing on Lean Six Sigma implementation in healthcare. I obtained my degree from Edinburgh Business School at Heriot-Watt University in Scotland, Edinburgh, and that's where I researched on the implementation of Lean Six Sigma, which basically is a topic that I am bringing now through the 5S and visual management in this webinar. Why are we talking about this topic? Why are we talking about visual management in 5S? In work, in organizations, we see sometimes busyness, people trying to achieve objectives, results. We see material, we see equipment, we see people. And sometimes if you don't have the right visual cues, if you don't have the right indicators, if you have waste in your material, the workplace will become a little bit unorganized. I wouldn't use maybe the word chaos, but sometimes we might end up with a chaos workplace, which basically leads to accidents, which leads to waste in operations, and that basically results in wasted efforts and delayed operations. And that basically contradicts with the lean philosophy and the lean organization, where everything should be running smoothly, efficiently, and in a very productive manner. So having the visual management, having the 5S implemented in a workplace becomes very important and critical to ensure safety, to ensure productivity and efficiency. Now, although 5S is very simple in its nature, because it's a program that is 5 steps to be done, could be done at your home, could be done at your laptop, you can do it on your laptop, you can do it in your operations, in your office, in your manufacturing. It is basically about doing workplace organization. And why? Well, if it's not organized, accidents will happen, delays will happen, duplication of work will happen. So yet, it is very simple, I understand, but it is very critical to make sure the operations are organized. When it comes to quality improvement, or as the Japanese call it, Kaizen, it falls under the lean practices. And this is where you can see here, it falls under lean organization and talks about workplace organization. Because if your workplace is organized, then productivity and efficiency will be achieved. So hence the relationship between lean and visual management and 5S. If you want to look at the workplace organization benefit potential, if we start implementing the 5S and the visual management, you can see here the percentages that can be achieved by implementing such programs. Adding more space, 5S, visual management might result in a reduction of the space that you have used, because you're getting rid of clutter, you're getting rid of unneeded items, so you basically will get more space. Accidents is a very critical thing. Actually, the 5S, as we will see later on in one of the slides, has been extended to become a 6S. So there is like this additional S, which basically stands for safety. And this is where 5S can be a sort of an entry door to achieve safety. And that's why you can see a very high percentage here, which is the 90% in reduction in accidents. Inventory control, quality, productivity. You can see percentages here that can basically help the organization. Employee morale, the organization that they will, I mean, I think everyone agrees. When you go into a place which is organized, everything is in its place, the tooling, the barcoding, if the color coding, people will feel comfortable to conduct their operation. And of course, in many of the standards, including the ISO 9001 or even the automotive or aerospace, this becomes a critical part to have an organized workplace. Again, lean is all about reduction of waste, reduction of issues that might delay or make our operations inefficient. And although this is not a lean webinar or a lean course, but essentially the types of waste will fall under 8 categories. We tend to call them sometimes the TIMWOODS, TIMWOODS, and basically it's everything that we do in our organization that will result in what we call a waste. So whether it's an over-processing or it is a defect or a rework, all of these activities will result in an increased activity where we have to correct something, where we have to waste time, and then we don't get what we want. So I'm not going to dwell a lot on this topic because this is more of a lean and a waste management, which is under lean, but I want to share with you this picture. So any idea what's this photo? Where is this photo? Any guesses? If you want to throw your guess on the chat, where do you think this is happening? Where is this? Oh, excellent, excellent. Yeah, Nadia is a pharmacy, indeed. And I mean, I would dread if I go into a pharmacy and I ask the pharmacist or this guy here, and I said, look, can you find me something? And he's gonna like, yeah, if you can come back after 2 hours, if you can come back tomorrow, actually. And I would ask him, like, how do you manage? How do you control? I mean, you've got controlled medication, you've got expiry. I mean, he would say, I have a system for everything. But what happens if you don't show up tomorrow? What happens to all of this? So we do really need a system to ensure that everyone follows that system, safety, accessibility, and of course, reduction in time. So what can we do to basically treat such incidents? Well, the background and history where Taishi Ono, the architect of Lean, created the original 4S, and in Toyota in the early 1950s, where it was meant to organize the workplace and get efficiency and better space. It was refined into the 5S, which we know today, and later on, even the US manufacturers added the 6S in the 90s. So, I mean, yeah, it is known as the 5S. Everyone knows it at the 5S, but there been an addition, which is the safety, which is sometimes an inherent addition or a benefit to the 5S. So what is it? It is basically a method that follows 5 steps where we can run an exercise with an organization. Usually we run it in 2 days. You can run it internally, of course. And it's all about getting the understanding to the people of what is 5S, the need of the organization in their workplaces, and then following a disciplined approach to basically clear the workplace. It reduces clutter, it gets rid of what is not important, and creates a place for everything and everything in its place. So whether it is using barcoding, whether it is using color coding, it's creating that environment where everyone feels proud of the workplace. And many companies will think of this after being implemented, that you can find any tool or any file or anything in your kitchen, in your laptop, and you can find it within 60 seconds. So it's all about the speed through which we can find things and we can achieve things, which links directly to what we call the 5S environment. So what are these original 5 S's? I'm going to start with the 5 here. So Siri, which is sort or organization, or sort out. Sometimes people use sort out in English. Citon, CISO. I'm sure you're not interested in the Japanese. It's good to know them, but I think we're more interested about what happens in each of these steps once we start implementing the 5S. So let's take you through the 5 S's and how they can be done. And I'm not sure if you can see this in the background picture here. This is Taishi Ono, the architect of Lean and the original or the originator of the 5S. So it's all about cleaning up the area, getting rid of the clutter. And for that, we will use a technique called the red tag, where we do what we call a walk around in the area, and we tag or we red tag everything that it's not used. It's like, you know, cleaning your wardrobe closet. You go there and you say, okay, I'm going to create a rule. Anything that I haven't used in 5 years, I think should go, right? You should give it away. And then you start sticking to that plan. And that is the beginning of what we call the Siri, or the organization, or the sorting. And as you get into the next step, you start thinking about, okay, should I now organize my stuff in a manner that is easily retrieved? So maybe you're gonna put by color, maybe by event, your clothes, your wardrobe. Now we're talking about wardrobe. I mean, the same thing applies for your files, for your operations, for your tools. And then the next step would be to clean up everything around it, which people refer to as shine, creating a standard for it, checklist auditing, and then making sure that the discipline will stay. So that's where training, education, reminding people, because it's very easy for people to lose interest, and then they go back to the original status that they were there. So what are these 5 steps? I mean, this is a sort of a snap of what we're trying to do. Here is the Siri. So you have it here in Japanese, right? So this is the Japanese thing. And then what is the concept behind it? And what is the activity that we expect to do in this exercise? And what is the result that we get out of it? For example, the first one is about sorting and cleaning up the area. Again, this might be sometimes difficult for people. I run into people that they start the exercise, they start putting the items aside. It could be their laptop, it could be their stuff. You know, it applies to any type of a sorting. But then they go back and they start bringing everything they have sort of identified as not needed, and they bring it back. So they have this, what we refer to as the hoarding mentality. You know, they like to keep everything they get into, or it comes into their hands. And it's not very easy for them to start getting rid of things that they haven't used, you know, in 3, 4, 5 years, depending on the role they have. So this is interesting, where people have to really stick to the concept and stick to the sorting. And then as they get into the second element, this is where they start to organize according to functions, according to colors, maybe your laptop, your files, according to clients. The whole idea is similar to a kitchen drawer, where you keep your spoons, your knives, your forks. So some of the very organized drawers, you just go there and you find all the spoons, all the forks organized. If there's anything missing, it's very easy to detect. So again, one of the benefits of this program is it creates a system where you can easily detect abnormalities, missing items, which basically becomes very important maybe in operations like healthcare, operating rooms in a hospital, where certain tools, items are brought into the operating room, and you need to keep count of them and ensure that nothing stays inside your patient. Cleaning and checking, making sure that you clean the area, and then creating that visual control, which connects with our next topic, which is the visual management and creating a standard. Training and discipline, auditing, quizzes. It's all about creating the discipline. So everything that we did in the 4 steps that will stay in place. And that's where the fundamental of this exercise are shown here. There been an addition, which is the 6S, which is safety, does not replace any site safety plan, but remember, during the 5S audits, we are going around, and usually I would look and consider everything around what we refer to as safety, exits, anything related to safety precautions can be looked at in that sense. We can, start a plan where with the management training, supervisor training, cleaning up. Again, maybe the duration here is not weeks, but sometimes it might take a while to get that system in place. And then you can schedule this to happen within a number of weeks, starting with a training for your management, starting a training for your supervisors. And of course, the program review and audit becomes very continuous because it's basically auditing and continuing the operation. So an implementation schedule or a plan can help us do that. As we mentioned, it is an event, which means that you have to prepare your management, explain the concept, select the team that will start doing these audits. So I would get them into the room, explain the concept, and then we will send them to the different departments in your company and ask them to, there is actually a checklist we share with them, and they will go into the departments and they will start taking notes, sometimes pictures, and then they will come back and we will start benchmarking, and we will start thinking about what we call actions. And then the next step would be for them to go and start the implementation plan within the cross-functional teams that they have there. So there is a little bit of preparation to ensure that the event is understood. And people sometimes may misunderstand the concept, and that's what we try to do during these initial preparation sessions to ensure commitment from all stakeholders within this program. A little bit here on the training and how, and as I mentioned to you, we've done it with a number of organizations where I delivered like a 2-day session to kick off the implementation. Half a day to start the awareness session, explaining the process, sending them to start their audits, getting information with the pictures and the photos, bringing them back, creating a detailed plan, and then asking them to start the implementation. So sometimes after the second day, I would leave them because sometimes some of these activities will require some time with the cross-functional teams, and sometimes it required resources, right? It's like, you need to get to buy things, whether the barcoding or getting an organized closet for your stuff. So again, sometimes the timing is about creating these resources. A little bit here on the selection of the implementation plan. So who would be part of that event? And we would come back after a while and do an audit to ensure that it is maintained. So I know many companies that are already implementing it. They are using all these techniques, and some of the industries, you cannot afford but to do such an organized system. Think about safety, think about healthcare industries, manufacturing, where it's very critical. If anything which is not organized might create an issue. Benchmarking the best in class, that might be something that the instructor, facilitator can bring in, so he or she can provide examples to the company and tell them, okay, maybe have you thought about changing this, introducing a resource, and this will help them sometimes to create some kind of an expedited process to become organized. I think here benefits, again, many of the ISO systems require this to be in place to be able to get to the improved workplace environment. Response times for doing things. I mean, I think you tend to agree with me that an organized workplace will tend to have better efficiencies, response times. People who work in an organized manner, places, environment tends to achieve more. The discipline and of course having the visual management and controls in place will provide better perceptions for visitors, customers, or external auditors as well. So lots of benefits that we can get there. I'm going to mention about or talk about one topic, which is the first S in our 5S, which is called Siri in Japanese, or sort. And people refer to something called the red tag station or red tag place. So in some companies, they create something similar to what you see on the screen. And it's all about identifying what is not needed, unnecessary, or misplaced items. So we involve staff to start identifying things that they can see around you. And they say, okay, this is misplaced. This is not needed. And I think we see that sometimes even in our houses, in our laptops, where things are there, but we just get used to them. And eventually they are not needed. They are not necessary for our operation. So should we tag them? Tag them mean here the red tag concept, where we move them to another area and we say, okay, we need to make a decision on this. Should we get rid of them? And we get the team in and we start removing these items or taking them out of our areas. And we start with the implementation of our 5S. So it's a very interesting idea, having this red tag concept where you can involve staff, where you can get everyone to be part of the implementation team. And the 5S here, as you can see, here's your red tag, one-time activity to dispose of clutter. Red because everyone notices red, and red tags, we need to make a decision usually within 30 days. So you can see here from the red tag, you need to make the category and you need to select and write it down. So everyone will see that this is something that we need to consider for maybe removal. This is a concept which is called the red tag, as I mentioned, and this is where you look for anything on aisles, offices, inside cabinets. It's basically doing that walk around and looking for any unneeded equipment or material or unneeded furniture. The same thing can be applied on your laptop. So the same thing can be applied to digital as well, with the same mentality and same concept. Again, maybe red tag would not be applicable because you don't have the physical tag on your laptop, but maybe you can identify a folder and call it the red tag, and then you have to make a decision on what to dispose and how to dispose of that material. That's on the red tag, and what to look for. Floors, items left in the corners. Again, maybe this example here in front of you tends to be a little bit more operation or manufacturing, but this can be applied in any type of an industry, offices, kitchens, hospitals. Again, it is all about what to look for and what to find in areas where things are not needed and unnecessary for the work. That's on the exercise itself, where we get into more details during the event of the 5S. As I mentioned to you, there is a long checklist that we explain, and we give copies to the people who are doing the actual audit, and we ask them to run the equipment and the floor audit and take pictures usually, and bring them back so we can discuss together the decisions with the top management. Examples, I mean, if you see these pictures are disastrous, very ugly, as we call them, the good and the bad and the ugly. But I mean, you can imagine someone working in these environments that could be really, I don't know, unproductive, sometimes even leading to accidents. But if you look at these pictures, you can see an organized workplace. You can see color coding, you can see labels, you can see the shadow boards, as you can see here on this tooling or work environment. So everything can be identified, everything is clean. It is very productive in terms to people who are doing the work and trying to achieve the results when you have such an environment. Before 5S, you can see this picture, and then you can see on the right-hand side, you can see the organized manner. So I do hope that your offices, your workplaces are very similar to the one on the right-hand side. I mean, again, it could be tooling, it could be offices, it could be filing, it could be your own laptop, and that's where the productivity and efficiency becomes in place. Again, a clear, shiny aisles. There is a motto they use for 5S organizations. They're always customer ready, customer tour ready. So, you know, if a customer comes in to visit you one day, I'm sure you might say, oh, we're going to do housekeeping. We're going to prepare ourselves. We're going to clean all the area, especially if it's a VIP customer or someone who wants to go through your operations. So imagine your operations are always ready for your customer tour. And this is where we say 5S has been implemented successfully and it continues to be sustained. Again, some examples here on how shine and how 5S happens. In terms of visual management, which is another area in Lean, I think most of us are familiar and happy when we see visuals. Whether it's the traffic lights or whether it's the airlines in airports where they provide us with information. Visual signs are on streets. What are visual management and visual controls in organizations and how do they help us? This is the topic where in Lean manufacturing, in Lean offices, in Lean thinking, it's all about making the information about the process, the production, the performance of our staff visible to everyone involved. Having that visibility is helping productivity, communication, reducing duplication, reducing mistakes. So visual control and visual management is what we see maybe now through the control panels, dashboards, business intelligence softwares, and maybe in a call center where you find all the controls and LCD TVs where everything about the operation is shown, the average time, and of course now with the big data and the artificial intelligence, everything is now shown live. So you can get lots of information about the process and what's happening, and if there's any delay, you can step in and try to solve that. So visual management is the application of any visual aid or device that promotes safer, more efficient, and less wasteful environment. Immediately, you can detect if there is a delay, you can detect if there's an abnormal state, and this is where you can step in and you can use that for a corrective action and hopefully later on for a preventive action. We use it for safety, improvement ideas. What can we monitor at your workplace? So if I come to your workplace, and I'm sure maybe many of your workplaces already have this to some extent, what do you monitor? What can we monitor visually at your workplace? Would you have a monitor to see who's inside the operations, who's inside, especially manufacturing or production for safety? Sometimes you need to keep count of who's in, who's out. Is there a visual display where all of this information is shown? Production lines in manufacturing, operating rooms in hospitals, universities where they can see which rooms are occupied, airlines where you have the master control rooms where for example, Emirates and Dubai airports, they have a visual of all the Emirates airlines, Emirates planes, and their locations and where they are right now. So they can basically visually see if there's any issue somewhere, and they can react to the situation by seeing all of this in one place. So this is visual control and visual management to your operations. Benefits, as I mentioned, it's all about providing that live status at a glance. So you don't have to go and look for the information, and you can immediately detect if there's any abnormal operating conditions that needed to be addressed. And having the standardized instruction, directions on how the work being done also could be another benefit of visual management. So designing, I think here I can show you a little bit. For example, designing, I mean, we see it in airports, we see it in hospitals. These are examples of, visual controls because they do help people to move around, labeling of your cabinets. Again, now with the digital technology, everything can be shown on dashboards. And, this is amazing because it makes things easier for us as users, and we can detect any issues and we can see what needs to be done in that thing. So I'm sure many of your organizations really benefit from visual control. Again, the original name maybe was called Visual Factory because manufacturing, but now we call it visual management, visual control, which is basically everywhere that you go and you can monitor and you can see your safety, your controls, and these are examples in front of you of some of the visual management techniques used in organizations. Again, all these are probably you've seen the lines, signs, painted aisles. These are examples of visual controls, which makes things easier, which make things more detectable. If there's any issue, you can find it and you can see if there's anything missing. So visual control falls under the lean concept because it does provide that easiness to do things. And that's the whole essence of having the lean in place, or the lean thinking, is to speed up our operations, to get rid of clutter, and to remove waste in our operations. Again, here's some examples of control, visual controls. You can see here like project tracking. All of this now has been automated, as you know. Some people like to keep them on boards, maybe use their markers. They like their markers. But again, all of this now has been automated in many of the softwares to manage projects, for example, Project MS Project, control charts or control rooms. I know many companies, organization in the region, Saudi, UAE, once you go into their operations, they have this control room or KPI dashboard where they can immediately detect issues or delays or main KPIs. Again, they're called key performance indicators. And again, here, you can use it in HR to see the skills related to your competencies. So, you can use it to trigger any training needs. So it's used in different formats. Here is the written one. Some people like to have the post-it and written and use it to look at what's happening and daily activities, daily checks. I mean, for example, toilets, right? When you go to toilets, sometimes you have that visual display, which is the checklist. When was the last cleaning happening? So again, these are all visual controls that are around us, and they explain to us what is happening in different areas. That's basically under visual controls, visual management, which basically complements the lean thinking and the lean implementation and the 5S. And again, try to look for evidence of visual controls on site within your organization. Do you have your visuals in place? Are they effective? What type of information do they provide? Now, visuals could be on the departmental level. So if you are in the department of HR, IT, do you have such visuals? Can someone just come into your operation, into your department, and look at the visuals, whether they're TVs or whether they're handwritten, and I can immediately see what projects are you running, who's involved, who's out, who's in, who's doing remote working, who is in the office. So again, information that is needed for everyone within the place to share information and to communicate. I think that takes me to the end of the webinar. Managed to complete it within 40 minutes, which is great. But again, just to remind you that, many of these topics are discussed in more detail in some of our Lean or Six Sigma courses. So feel free to check our website at www.merc.com. And I guess I'd like to take your questions now. I know it's a short webinar. There's lots of information that I try to squeeze in, but I tried to share with you two main topics, which is the Lean and the 5S, which I hope many of you are already implementing maybe some of these concepts, maybe didn't know it's called the 5S. Any questions, any inquiries, please shoot them in the chat column, and I'll be more than glad to answer your questions. Oh, thank you. Thank you for attending. Really, I see some people saying thank you. Thank you for being with us. I know, you have a busy schedule, so being with us for 40 minutes, it's a commitment. But thank you for being with us. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Again, it's been recorded, so you could come back and maybe listen to it and look at the slides again. But yeah, thank you everyone. I see people thanking us. If you have any questions, here's my email as well on the screen. So you can send me that. Yes, ISO. Yes, Nadia, you mentioned ISO 9000. Is it? Well, it's the family of ISO 9000. Which part of the family is the requirement? When we say ISO 9000, it is the family, because the booklet of ISO 9000 is actually the booklet of vocabulary and fundamentals, while there is the booklet that we really want to implement, which is the ISO 9001. So 9001 is the standard, are the requirements that we want to do. But maybe I mentioned 9000, it's the family of the 9001. Total productive maintenance, absolutely, Ibrahim. 5S, when we want to do the full program of total productive maintenance with all these elements, the predictive, the preventative maintenance, 5S becomes an important element of it. It is related, it is a requirement. Some people say if you cannot do 5S, you cannot do Lean. So many of the initiatives that, including the TPM, are, as a prerequisite, doing 5S would be required. Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you very much. Thank you all for being with us. If you have any questions, you can always send it to my email. Oh, how to convince managers to invest in 5S? Well, can you show them the waste in time, safety, accidents? If you can translate the accidents, the time wasted because people are looking for things, because the workplace is not organized, can you translate it into money? I know it's an exercise that requires us maybe to become accountant, but if you can find the time, if you can count it, if you can find this accidents, time wasted, and take that and transform it into a dollar's value, I think maybe that's the language sometimes managers will understand, and tell them, I have a program that might help reduce that waste in terms of money. Again, we use that technique under what we refer to as the cost of poor quality. And we are good. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's, is it a waste to have an organized place? Is it a waste to have a place where you can access things very quickly and not waste time? So yeah, and I hear you. Some people, you tell them and you say, no, I am good. But your place is not organized. Say, well, I'm used to it. I can do everything. But what about other people? So it's these systems, are for other people as well. I hear you, Ibrahim. Sometimes it's tough, but we keep trying. All right. Thank you very much. I'm gonna log out. Thank you very much for everyone for being with us. Feel free to contact me at any time, and it would be great to have you on our future webinars or even training. Thank you, guys, and wish you all the luck in implementing some of these lean practices and projects. All right. Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Meirc.com